Good evening. Have one done today. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma J, Spirit Divine, and He give you another word on today. Um, we're gonna talk about the widow with just a olive oil, just an olive oil. That's all she had. Just like I talked about my drought, I was using the tools that I had, and God made a way out of nowhere. And so this gonna come from Second Kings chapter 4, 1 through 7, dealing with Elijah. Now the wife of a man from a company or the prophet cried out to Elijah, your servant, my husband is dead. She let him know her husband is dead, and that he reversed the law. Now, see, her husband went to the same prophet school that Elijah went to. That's why she said, my husband is dead. But now his creditor is coming to take my two boys as his slave. So back then when they had money to pay their credit, pay their debt out, they were able to put their children up for slave, even themselves to pay their debt out. So this poor, poor people and dollars debt, was allowed to pay their debt by selling themselves or their children as slaves. Now this woman creditor was not acting in the spiritual of God law, because God, God themselves to help this widow in need. So God had them in charge. And so God told them they were supposed to help these widows in need. They're supposed to have all the widows. They were supposed to help them. Now he not acting in a spiritual God law. He coming and he talking about like the terminator. I will be back. I'll be back for you or your sons if you ain't got my money. And so Elijah had replied to her, how can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house? That's the first thing to ask you. What do you have in your house? Even if you got peanut butter and jelly and bread, you can use that. You use the tools that you have in your house when you're in a drought, or when you're in a situation like her, or anyone like us in a drought. Now, your servant has nothing, at all. She said, I don't have nothing at all. Now, she said, except a small jar of olive oil. I don't have nothing in my house, but I do have a small jar of olive oil. Now, a small jar, of olive oil. Her husband had died. And I'm trying to make provision for her. She's trying to make provision for her and her children. She has no money, only a small jar of olive oil. God can do wonders. Look, I ain't had no water and in there with 3, 4 cases of water. God just had people coming in right behind each other, because that's how God would do. You reach out, and you try to use the tools that you have. God will meet you halfway and he'll make something happen. Now, Elijah has said, go around and ask the neighbors for empty jars, and don't ask for a fruit. Just because you got a small jar of olive oil, look, you go around and ask everybody for a jar. And don't worry about asking for a fruit. You just start collecting them jars. So Elijah about to see a miracle with the tools that she have, but God provision. God will provide her long as she have empty container. That's why he said, don't worry about fruit. You get many as possible. And watch how God do the work. Then go inside and shut the door behind you and your son. Pour the oil into all the jar. And as each is filled, put it on one side. And now, watch how God do the miracle. With that little oil that she have, all them containers that she brought in, and that little oil right there, God gonna have that oil gonna keep flowing, long as she got containers. Elijah had give her instructions. She shut the door behind her and her son, and he performed a miracle. One you want to avoid disturbance in public. Every time Jesus did a miracle, Jesus said, all y'all have, you got to come on out. It's just too much noise, too distraction. Just the mama can stay in here. Everybody else needs to get out. And so that's why he said, go inside and close the door behind y'all. Now, she left him and shut the door behind her and her son. They brought the jars, to her, and she kept pulling the earl. Now she followed instruction. Elijah had received her complaint, and God magnified his goodness with his power. Elijah not doing it on his own. That's God's power. But he have us prophet, perceive it. Just like Jesus had perceived all the power, and so when all the jar was full, she said to her son, bring me another one. But he replied, there is no jar left. And then the earl had stopped. Long as she had the containers, the earl, God kept that earl going. But soon as she ran out of container, God stopped the earl. He stopped the earl. So the woman, her son collected jars from the neighbors and poured the olive oil into them from one jar to another. But when the container stopped, the earl stopped pouring. Only when they ran out of containers, the number of jars they gathered was dedicated to their faith. It was to faith. That's why Elijah told, don't worry about a faith. You get much as you can of containers. Now, God provision of their faith and willingness to obey. They followed a structure and a miracle proceed. Now, she went and told the man of God, and he said, go sell the earl and pay your debt, and when you and your son can live out with the leftover. Now, she collected the earl. She collected the jar. She didn't know what Elijah wanted her to do that. All she know, I got to pay my debt. This collector is coming back, and you telling me to go all my neighbors and collect jars. She didn't know what the jars were for. Then she pulling the earl in. She still like, what he gonna have me to do with this? But when she was finished, Elijah told her, now you go and sell every last one of them jars and pay your debt. And the money you got left, you live off of with you and your two sons. And that was a miracle. To have no money to pay her debt and to have an overflow. So Elijah helped this widow out. Not only she able to pay her debt out, but she have leftover. And that's what I'm talking about. I still got cases of water sitting here. Because that's how God do. He'll have you overflowing. This lady went from nothing to now overflowing. She have leftover to live off of. And so she went to have only small jar of oil to have an overflow. And that's how God works. See, God really don't want us to struggle like this here. God want us to prosper. For some kind of way. The devil don't like us to prosper. He gonna come and try to bend our shoulder one way or another. So when from not able to pay her debt off, but going to have to put her son in because see, she had no money to pay her debt. She was gonna have to put her son up for slavery. She was gonna have to put herself up just to pay her debt. And we don't know how long she was gonna have to do that for to cover her debt. But pay her debt out, but when to having overflow in leftovers. That was a miracle. And see, God knew. God knew she was struggling. God knew her husband was dead. God knew she had to pay her bill. God knew that man was going to come back. And what he do? He sent Elijah there at a nick of time. Because God always right on time. Right on time. And so God will have someone to show up at the right time. Because he already He already watching us. He know who's struggling. He know who and God will send the right people to you at the right time, at the nick of time. And so this widow husband died, and she was seen by the kids. So she didn't provide, but now she had to provide for herself and her two boys, because I know she don't want this to happen again. And so she got to be in the field, and good thing she had two boys to put them in that field so they can do what they need to do to keep them bills going. So that's all I have for you today. That God can put vision. He can perceive miracles. When we shortest, God can do the impossible. This widow had number a small jar, and Elijah told her to go get many containers that you can get. And God allowed that oil to keep on flowing and keep on flowing. And when the containers ran out, then God stopped the oil. So she had overflow enough to pay her bills and then had leftover for her and her son to live off. So that's all I have. So anything too possible, including me. I'm talking to myself too. We just got to keep praying. Stay in that word, like I told y'all what I'm doing now. Stay in that word. Read more in that Bible. That's how you get connected with your spirit, connected with God. While you in this hard time struggling, and God will make a way. He is a make breaker. So that's all I have for you today. I'll see y'all in the next video. Oh, I have you can schedule Bible study. Just like I said, I've been more in my Bible, and I know the Bible from front to back, putting these stories out every day. So I'm able to help someone with Bible scriptures or wherever in the Bible. Help someone to get closer to these stories where you get closer to God. Look how we just break this story just now. Watch out. God had did that miracles, and it's amazing to read these stories, and look how God worked, and you get closer to God. You'll want to read more and more about these stories in the Bible. I'm also a spiritual healer, and also a psychic. You can book a reading. Yeah, I can predict your future. I'm also Mrs. Divine. Anyone lost one is missing, never got found, send him or she picture and name on my TikTok account, and you leave information in my email. Everything gonna be down below. You can and I will contact you as soon as possible. So that's all I have for you today. I see y'all in the next video.